Hello, Mark Yonley here, our founder and artistic director of Chicago Tap Theater, back with an all-new episode of the Tea on Tap. As we always do, let's get started with our theme song and a little time with Mr. Miles Davis.
Just tea for two and two for me. Just me for you and you for me alone. Nobody near us to see us or hear us. No.
Looks like our guest is here. I'm going to welcome in. Let's get one more trick from Mr. Davis. Not quite there, Miles. Let's see if he finds that treat. Yes, he did it, everybody. All right, here we go. And we're going to go live. And we're just waiting for Mr. Guillem Alonso. There he is.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hola, mi amigo. ¿Qué tal?
Muy bien.
Bien, bien.
Very good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. It's so good to see you.
Nice to see you. Now I know how to work better with the Instagram, yeah? I'm not a typical Instagram user, so here I am.
I had to learn how to use Instagram to create this show. I definitely did not start using this. So first off, welcome. As we always, I like to ask everybody, where are you? And can you give us a little look around, please?
Well, I'm not at home because now in these days we are always at home. But since I have my child, 5-year-old, that is always coming in, I decided to go to the school, to Luthier, to my dance school. So this is, yes, hey.
Yeah. Twins.
Yes.
I love it.
Know each other? Have we seen anytime?
Maybe.
Yes. So this is now I'm in one of the music rooms. Here we have a couple of pianos, because we do music and dance, and this is kind of, you see, the reception. So here I am, not be able to really dance much and no classes yet, but I can be here at the school, so it's cool.
Aw, I'm so glad. I missed that school. I have so many happy memories teaching there. It really is a special place that you created.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about that later.
Okay.
Do you have your mug?
Yes, of course.
Show us your mug and what are you drinking? Oh wait, hold it up closer.
Okay, so this is a picture of me working with the computer. My secretaries, they did it for me for my birthday, and because I'm always drinking tea. My favorite tea is Earl Grey, so Earl Grey, I guess the name, and so that's what
very British of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So in the picture you can see I'm making a funny face. I like to make funny faces. So yeah, that's kind of. That's the Earl Grey I like to drink, of course. In the morning.
I love it.
Now in Spain it's 7 o'clock in the afternoon or evening. So normally I like to drink it more in the morning, but it's a special occasion for you.
Yay! Yeah, at Barcelona time it's still about 3 hours too early for dinner, right?
Yes, yeah. We have dinner at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So well, still, and then we go to sleep later and all that. Not everybody. Here, people start working at 8 o'clock in the morning, and so we have all this variety of people. It depends on the place of Spain.
I love that lifestyle. It's a great way to live you have.
Yes. Yes.
So the first question that I ask every guest is, could you tell me about your first experience with tap dance? First time you remember either seeing it or doing it?
Okay. So, well, I was a child, so I have a couple of I remember a couple of situations. One, of course, was seeing the movies. Like in that time, it was very typical, at least in Spain, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 1970, 1980, to see movies about Fred Astaire, Jim Kelly, like tap dance movies. And so for a kid, it's always fun, you see tap and playing with the feet, making rhythms. And in the other side, because my family, they are musicians, my mother has a music school, and there was a saxophone teacher that he could tap, and when he was a very funny guy, and anytime that we were having fun, he would do some tap dance steps, so it was like kind of cool thing to see and to do, and everybody was laughing. So that's why tap was so, wow, that's great, I want to do that. So these two things were kind of the things that they really attract me to tap. And then my family, they put me in some tap lessons. That was my start.
I love it. And tell us about your primary teachers. Lineage is such an important concept in tap. So tell us about maybe your earlier teachers and then the teachers that really became your mentors. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, we have to understand that in that time in Barcelona, there was not a lot of tap, but there was some people that they were really like building the community and all that. So I started, my first lesson was with a teacher. She was not only tap dancer, clown, and then we were playing with the hats and and the stick and all that. But then later I had a couple of teachers which they were more like more rhythm tap. Mainly my main teacher here in Barcelona is Mireia Font, and she was very good musician too. She could sing, she could dance, and she would perform with live music all the time, so she could improvise. So that was a really good influence that I could have here. Then I had another teacher like Annette Flowers, also very good. And so that's kind of my beginnings in Barcelona, and which when you were doing tap dance, there was not many possibilities to grow because there was like two levels, tap one, tap two, and that was it. And then when I was 17, I went to New York, and then I was going forward and back, like going to New York and back to Barcelona. And then I stayed 3 years in Barcelona in New York. So in New York, my main teachers, I would say, would be Brenda Bufalino, Barbara Duffy, and Savion Glover. That was the three main teachers that I was taking a lot of classes with them, even though I like to take classes with a lot of teachers. Yeah, I was taking classes with many people because I always thought that to be able to learn more with more different styles and more different ideas from different teachers, the best, instead of staying only with one or two. So I had a lot of very good teachers, but the three of Brenda, Barbara, and Savion would be the ones that I took more classes or more influenced by them.
Is there anything that any of them said, or that any teacher that you took from said, that you still hear in the back of your head?
Well, some things, yes, of course. There are some things that I always remember when I teach, like Brenda Bufalina, she used to say, don't do the feet and then do the arms, try to do it together from the first moment. Yeah, because then if you do the feet and then later you do the arms, it's like the arms are not natural. So if you train it at the same time, it's better. But for me, like something that I still have to work on that, or it helped me a lot, it was like the improv classes with Barbara Duffy. We work a lot about musicality, of course. And for me, coming from Barcelona and a music background that was mainly classical music, for me it was very, very hard to finish the improvs in the count of four. I always would finish the three or in the one. I guess more for the accents with the classical music are different than with jazz music. So Barbara was very like hard on me, like you have to get that, and I had to work a lot, listening a lot of jazz music and becoming more familiar with the feel, with the accents, with the melodies, structures. And of course, then I learned how to finish on 4 because it didn't feel natural. Now it feels natural, but sometimes it's still, like it's something that I have to learn. It's not something that was so natural in the beginning. So that's the kind of things that they are still in my mind, that I've been taught, and I have to still, think about that.
I'm always interested in this. The word technique is kind of a big word in dance, right? And I feel like in ballet, technique is a very clearly defined thing. There's Cicchetti technique or Vaganova. In modern, there's very Horton and Graham and all that. What does technique mean to you within the context of tap dance? And how do you maybe either use it or how do you teach it, since you're quite a noted educator?
Okay. So, well, of course, there are different ways of teaching technique and doing technique, but I see it more in the music way. So for me, technique, it would be more like the language, which is the letters and the words. But it doesn't mean nothing if you don't have a sentence or a phrase, something to say, a history. So to be able to express better and to tell a history or tell a sentence, when more vocabulary you have, better you can express yourself. More things you can say, and you can be more realistic of what you want to say. So technique is a tool to be able to express or to say things or to do bigger things. So I don't think that we should focus in technique just because we want to be tap dancers to have a good technique. I mean, you just want to have a good technique to be able to perform, to improvise more fluid, with more fluidly, to be able to do the steps without thinking, just they come natural into you. So technique, I mean, of course, you can try different styles. I mean, there are different ways of learning technique, different, like we have Stan Can technique, we have Brenda Bufalino, Steve Condos. I mean, all of those are good to learn and to have all of them into your body. But in reality, what we really want is to have some language that we can communicate. So always it's good to work in technique that has musicality in it. So if you want to work in shuffles, if you only hear ta 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 ta, if you really want to work technique to be able to get somewhere, maybe you have to put it somewhere when you do it. So if you do shuffles instead of ta 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 ta, maybe you have ta 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 ta. Yeah. So put it into some kind of place that has sense, into the rhythm with the music, the rhythm with the melody, with the phrasing. All this like mix it. Yeah, what we were talking about before about the steps and the arms. With Brenda. So I think music, it's kind of the same idea with the technique.
What is it do you think that made you fall in love with tap dance? Because you encountered it with a teacher and you'd see it on TV, and then you started doing it. What is it that kept you doing it? What is it that keeps you doing it today?
Okay. Well, for me, tap. Okay, I found tap I was doing different things when I was young. Yeah, I was playing some instrument. I was doing tap. I was in school doing all this. I mean, I like it to do mathematics or other things, like things that are fun. But for me, tap was a way of expressing myself that I felt more comfortable. I like it because it's physical, but at the same time, it's musical. It has these two things. So I'm sure I would have never been a dancer. I would have never been a dancer, even though I like dance a lot, but I wouldn't have been a dancer. I could have been a musician, yeah, because it comes from my family and that's more natural in me. So, but even though I try different kind of instruments, I couldn't really be so consistent as I was with tap, because with tap, even if I was working on technique or other things, I always found it very fun. I always enjoy it. Like when I was doing some instruments, I like playing some instruments. I mean, some exercises, some of the things that I was doing were not so fun, you know. I mean, you had to work a lot to get into the fun part, which with tap for me was right away. I was having fun. So that's why I decided to stay with tap, because it was what I really enjoy it more.
Mm. I asked this question just because I do know that there's quite a few people that watch these interviews who maybe have been in a dancer for a longer time, and they've encountered setbacks and injuries. And I always like them to hear people who are working now talk about their injuries and the fact that they came back from them, because I think that that's important for us to realize, right, when we're at our lowest moment, because we've all been there, I feel like, or most of us. So have you ever dealt with a major injury or setback as an artist that you had to come back from? And would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yes, yeah, I've been having few different injuries, but of course the one that I always kind of remember more, and the one that I still have it, because some of the injuries that we have, they don't go away. You have to live with them. Okay,
Yeah.
so when I was 19, and I started to have pain in my ankle, there is a bone called astragalus bone that it moves away, and then somehow the tendons and the muscles there, they get like pinzamiento in Spanish, yeah. So
Pinched?
pinch, and then you get the inflammation, and then you have the pain. You cannot really point your feet. It's very typical in ballet people, they told me. So at the beginning, when I had this injury, it was very painful, and I went to doctors. They didn't really find this injury. I mean, they were doing some injections, anti-inflammatory, all those things, but after a while it came back. So it was kind of tough for about 2 years. I really couldn't dance much, almost nothing, very few. But slowly I went to other doctors, a physiotherapist, and I found things that really help a lot. Stretching is one of the things that help a lot. Stretching all the muscles of the leg, it helped a lot. And then, of course, I had to put some cream or ice when. So with the years, I still have it sometimes. If I really don't take care of it, or I dance very strong on my right foot, I do a lot of toes, then I can start having pain. But when I have the pain, now I know how to deal with it. I know I put some ice, some cream, and then I just stretch, and I have my exercises, and then it goes away. And it happened like the same thing with a couple more injuries that I had in the time. I never broke a bone or nothing like that, but those kind of injuries are tough. I had an injury when I was doing a tour. For 2 years I was performing almost every day. I don't know if I did like 600 or 700 shows, and I had an injury that maybe would have not been very major or important, and in my hip. But since I couldn't stop, I had to keep dancing with it. So I still feel it sometimes, like depends of the day. This is small things, but we have to be careful, when we are dancing a lot, we have to hear the body, and we have to stretch. We have to put cream before it gets worse. Sometimes it's better to stop for a week and keep going than not stop and then having to stop for a month. Sleeping well is very important. Eating well, of course, too. And of course, there is lots of nowadays medicine, like doctors that are specialized in dance. So here in Alutier, we have teachers that they come and they do anatomy lessons for the students, and it's something that as a dancers and tap dancers that are very free. We are very free tap dancers. We like to improvise, dance. We rehearse alone, and it's, as you say, ballet. Like the technique, the way of working is very clear. Tap, we have a lot of variety. So it's important that we take care about how to learn all these things about taking care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So
Most certainly. I would say that seems to be a theme. Everyone who's talked about coming back is when you come back, you're given a lot of tools, and just because you start to feel better doesn't mean you let go of those tools. Yeah, that they become part of your ongoing practice.
yes.
Thanks for sharing that with us. I appreciate that. So, growing up tap dancing in Spain, what brought you to America? Why did you decide to come to New York, and when did you do that? And what was New York like at that time? Because you came when New York was a very exciting place. Not that it isn't now, but I feel like then especially there was so much hustle and bustle and things happening.
Yes. Well, of course, I went to New York because I wanted to be a better tap dancer. Yeah, that's the first thing. I was in Barcelona, and as I told you, there was some very good tap dancers, but not really lessons. Like if you wanted to grow as a tap dancer, you had to really move to New York. In that time, everybody wanted to go to New York, was like the place to go to tap. And of course, New York in that time was very special because, I mean, it's what they say, the renaissance of tap. I mean, still when I was there, you could see, talk, and dance around all these people that like Jimmy Slide, Buster Brown, Honey Coles, Chuck Green, these people, they were all around, and you would go to see shows and they would be there in the audience with you or dancing because you were performing and they came. And of course that was very special time. And there was not the telephones that we have today. There was no internet. I didn't have computer. It was another way. So for me to really know what was happening in New York, my mother, because I was like 17, my mother had to go first, look for schools. She helped me a lot with that. So, and then even when I was in New York, I was discovering new places that I didn't know because you couldn't go and see Google, like, oh, there is a tap jam. Maybe after 1 year, you find out there is a great school or a great jam or something happening. And the other thing, it was that I didn't speak English because in the school, I studied French. And so at the beginning, when I was in New York...
Wait a minute. Wait, I'm going to back up 1 second. You studied French in school?
Yes. Here in
But I have spoken French with you, Guillem. How many years of French did you study?
No, 3 or 4 in that time. I mean, we didn't focus so much in language. But then I changed to English, but I only did like 1 year of English. And no, my French.
I'm only teasing you because your English is so perfect. But I know you and I go to French, and we both need a lot of help.
Yeah. No, but when I was a kid, of course, very, very young, I did the French. And then
I know.
When I went to New York, I couldn't really speak a word of English. I mean, very few. And it took me a while. And so at the beginning, I was missing many things because I couldn't really talk properly. And because I came from Barcelona, I didn't know about the history of tap. I was meeting a lot of great tap dancers that I didn't even know. I mean, I'm sure I have met more people that I even know now that I didn't know then, so I don't even know who they were. So it took me a while to really know what was happening and how lucky I was also to be there with all these people. So yeah, I don't remember now the question you made, but the experience of going to New York in that time, it was very special. It was very special. And I think there was this great mix of the artists that they were still alive, that came from the old times, and that you, I mean, people, you could focus a lot in technique, but there was many more things about the tap, dancing, the performing, that you had to take care. You were learning a lot by watching the people you were around.
At some point, you ended up connecting with Brenda Buffalino and the American Tap Dance Orchestra, and didn't just observe the tap renaissance, but were a part of it. Tell us about working in those early concert tap dance companies and kind of what it was like bringing tap to audiences. Because back then, we take for granted now the tap dance is everywhere. In America, at least, you can find it on TV, on some of the dance reality shows occasionally. There's quite a few shows touring now that have tap dance. But back then it was a relatively rare thing and a very special thing. What was it like touring and dancing with a major concert tap dance company at that time?
Well, I mean, it was fantastic, of course, and because I was very young, for me it was something. I was lucky to do it, but at the same time, I found it natural. I mean, with Brenda Bufalino, with the American Tap Dance Orchestra, we were performing in Las Vegas, in Rome, in Italy, or at Lincoln Center, and of course at Woodpeckers many times because we used to do shows there. And well, it was very special. I would say when I was in New York, I was working with Brenda with the American Tap Dance Orchestra, but at the same time I was working with Heather Cornell, Manhattan Tap. I think it was a great thing because they were very different kind of companies, and which you could learn a lot from the differences. You know, the American Tap Dance Orchestra, it was a concept of company that really take care about group. You know, you work a lot in the group, in the sound of the group, in the movements of the group, choreographic ideas, and not only in movement, also in the rhythms, like a lot of polyrhythms, and everybody had to have the same sound, the hill, the deep, the low. You know, it was the work was very specific about all these things, which was a great thing to perform and learning experience at the same time. Manhattan Tap was more the freestyle. There was more improvisation. There was we always. I mean, also with the, but we were working always with live musicians, of course, and working more in historical material and masters, work from the masters, and I mean, we could have different shoes, each of us. It was more about the style of each one of us. Okay, so both were great experiences, and I was very lucky to be able to be part of companies and these directors that they took care about creating work for audiences to creating companies that was, I'm sure it was very hard to keep them going. You know, it was not like, it's like for some people maybe it was easier to go into the musical scene, commercial scene, and to try to keep up with these kind of companies. A lot of tap dancers have come from there, and you know, on Thursday you were talking with Bakari, and I met Bakari when he was dancing with the American Tap Dance Orchestra with Brenda Bufalino, when he was also teaching at Woodpeckers. And so these companies, they were very important for expanding tap, but also for the tap dancers to learn. And
I was going to say, could you share, because I know and you know the caliber of the tap dancers that were in the companies. You look at a lot of the major soloists now, and many of them spent time in one or both of those companies back then, because they really were such training grounds. So would you share a few names, right? So American Tap Dance Orchestra, you would have worked with Barbara Duffy, of course.
For Barbara Duffy and Brenda Bufalino, and Tony Back, who is the director of the Tap City. And well, Margaret Morrison. In that time, also a lot of Europeans, they were there, that now they are important people in Europe, like Thomas Marek or Hervé Legoff. And some of them, they are still in New York, like Olivia Rosencraft. And Manhattan Tap had also a lot of good soloists. So, I mean, people that now I have a lot of contact, like Josh Hilberman, that he's in Europe, living in Belgium. And of course, Max Pollack, you know, Jimmy Hill. And, you know, there are so many good tap dancers. I mean, now, of course, they are all in the 40s, 50s. You know, it's hard to find nowadays tap dancers that they were in the companies that they are 20 or 30, but
Yep.
but they have become also the teachers of the new generation somehow. So you know, in the history of tap, there is always um, this importance of how to keep up going with the history. You know, like every period of time has their importance coming from where you come and going from where you go. So if it wouldn't happen what happened in the 90s, now we wouldn't have been doing what we are doing, you know. So everything has a relationship.
Yes.
So and so many good tap dancers that they came from the companies. And there was of course many other companies. Like you were talking with Bakari, you know, like the shows like Bringing the Noise, you know, like there was so many important shows and companies that they were working with people and people was learning and that nowadays we learn from them. So
Yeah.
part of it.
So, you know, I don't know how many people know this, but you and I have been friends now, I think, for about a decade. And it really, I mean, to be honest, it's one of my deeper friendships in the tap world. You're one of those people I just absolutely have always felt a real kinship and love for. And I think part of it is we have a lot of interesting things in common. We both produce shows and all that. But part of it is you and I both married or are with tap dancers. And I know something that people ask me all the time, and I'm going to ask you, what is it like living with and having a partner who is also a tap dancer? Is there constant tap dancing in the house? Are you bouncing ideas off each other all the time? Tell us a little bit about that, because I think that's something for people that aren't dancers. I think the thought of two dancers living together is something they find really fascinating.
Well, being with a tap dancer has some of the good things. Some others, I think, is the same. Like I would say at home, it's not a big difference. We are not like dancing at home all day. You know, we do our normal life. But I think the big difference is more when we perform together and when we create shows. The connection, we don't, I mean, we know what is going to do the other person. We know how to sound together. We are really, we connect, we enjoy, and especially in the performance concept, it helps a lot. I think it's you have a connection that you don't have with nobody else. That's something that it's very special, and of course, then when we create shows, I mean, of course, when you have someone that is your partner and you have a lot of confidence, you would say things that maybe with other people you wouldn't say. That means that you are more free to create, but at the same time you can have some problems because maybe you are more, no, I don't like this, I want to do that, you know, like you can be a little bit more tough, but at the same time you would accept or you would communicate better with not so much respect, which sometimes is good, because when you are dancing, creating with someone that you have so much respect, maybe you don't want to tell, no, I don't like this, or do this, please, I like more this, you know. So when you are with someone that you know so well, so good, that you live with this person, is your partner in the real life, then it's easier to create together, because then you can really say what you think.
Without a doubt. I don't know if you can read what people write, but somebody just wrote to you, and of course, I apologize, Lincoln Park Dance, your picture is so little, I don't know who you are. I know I probably know you in real life, if you don't mind dropping your name. But she said that Susan Filipiak recently shared some footage with her of you and Brenda and Avi and Ofer at the Woodpecker Studio. And she said it was amazing. Boy, do me a favor, if you get a chance, drop a link to that footage if it's publicly available.
Yeah, I would like
drop a link in this.
That I would like to see.
Oh, it's Lisa. Hi, Lisa. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was you. Well, hi, Lisa. So yeah, if possible, please share it publicly in the comments or in the on Instagram or Facebook when we share it, or maybe just send it on to Guillem, because I know you'd love to see that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing nowadays, because in that time we didn't have YouTube or nothing like that, and so many shows that we were doing in that time that I've lost. I was lucky to be with Brenda in the countryside in her house, and then she gave me some DVDs that she put from the shows, and I have now something. For a while, I didn't have nothing. I came back to Barcelona with nothing, any recordings almost from my time in New York. And nowadays, sometimes, like the other day, I was watching this documentary with Savion, and I was in class, taking class with him, and it's so fun when you find yourself in this kind of things that you can find, but it's hard to find, and I'm sure there are many that we don't see. So yes, please, thank you, Lisa, if you can give us the link, because I would love to see it.
Yeah.
And so many good things were happening at Woodpeckers. Woodpeckers was the place that, I mean, there was many places, different places, of course, but and every person has their own experience. But for me, it was the place that I really grow as a student, a dancer, performer, and met so many important people, because they were doing workshops like every 2 or 3 months, and you would take classes with all the great masters and so many people that it was not so much common in other places in the world. It was not like now we have festivals everywhere. There wasn't happening.
That's so. First off, I want to tell you, if you're interested in some footage from that period, Heather Cornell is also going to be doing a thing every other Sunday, and you're going to hear a little bit more about that next week. But she's going to be sharing some of her old footage, so you're going to have to check that out and see if you're in some of that also. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about the sand dance. Here in America last Sunday on local cable, or on a cable channel, they re-showed, or actually they showed it for the first time, No Mats on My Taps, which was a brilliant documentary. You know that documentary well. Chuck Green, Sandman Sims, Bunny Briggs. And I was watching Sandman, and I was taken by the fact, of course, I watched him and I immediately thought of you, because to my knowledge, you're one of the only people who has really invested in really figuring out how to codify a technique for dancing with sand, and then taken that and created some beautiful work. And I have to say, some of the most iconic dance photographs in the last 20 years are of you pouring the sand, you dancing with the sand, because it's such a visually arresting image. And then your ability to weave humor into it. Tell us about that. What interested you in sand dance, and then why have you invested so much in really keeping that tradition alive?
Okay. Well, this documentary, you say, the No Maps on My Taps, I had it on VCR, and I watched it so many times. Like, I really like my technique, because there was no sand dance classes really in that time. I had to watch it from this video mainly. That was the only thing I had. Well, the thing about sand dance, when I was in New York in that time in the 90s, for me, I was dancing tap, but I was thinking, of course, I was thinking always that I would go back to Barcelona, to Spain someday, and I had to create my shows. And for me, it was very important to find a way to really look for variety in a show. Like, if you want to do a show, like for me in that time, I was doing also body percussion. I really like a lot body percussion too. So, and when I saw the sand, like, you can have a show that you can do not only tap, like, it's the same thing, because it's rhythm with your body, tap or sand or body, or and then you can do chair dance or dancing in ropes or going up and down the stairs. There are so many possibilities that you can find these different options to play with rhythm and body and tap. That for me, sand dance was something very interesting. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I think I saw it maybe sometimes at Woodpecker, somebody was dancing. And then I was lucky that I was with Harriet Brown. She was around at Woodpecker sometimes, performing with Brenda. And then I was in a show that Lorraine Goodman was producing. And we were dancing in the same show, and Harriet was doing sand. I was not doing sand, but I could see her doing it. And I, once at Woodpecker, she taught a lesson, and I learned it there, just one step, the basic step, what she called the basic step. And So at the beginning, for me, I really liked Sendent, and also because it was this kind of idea that you could do something different, a different technique to do rhythm with your feet, you know. And so that was something that, and later with Manhattan Tap, we did a piece with Sendent because Heather Cornell is one of the Sun dancers that we can. You will, if you talk with her, of course, she can talk a lot about Sundance, and of course, she had a lot of relationship with Harriet Brown, and so I was lucky enough to be able to learn Send from Harriet, from Heather, and at the same time, especially when I went back to Spain, then I spent many hours doing Sendance and finding this technique and seeing what I could do with that. And since I was doing some shows, especially with Camut Band in that time, then I had to create things with percussion, with music, and also this thing about putting the sand, that is this visual part, you know, like because we had light technicians, sound technicians, we were doing proper shows, and that was a good help to also create also the concept of how to present it at the same time, you know, like, and also um, like this making fun with it also, you know, like discovering a new sound like nobody had seen sent in Spain, of course. So then you had to also present it and play with it, and then later you could do all the technique like this is an instrument, you can do all the rhythms and all that. So yeah, Sundance become one of my almost every show I do Sundance. And
Yeah.
so it's one of the things I did with it's not that I created that technique, but I just put up all the things together, and I even have a DVD that I sell with technique of Sundance. Like sometimes people ask for it, but yeah, I have, and I teach some workshops with Sundance. I know in Chicago that there is Tristan, no, he's doing Sundance too,
Yeah, he
and
sometimes pulls it out. That's right.
and I mean, of course, there are many people that they can do send. There are, but no, normally it's as not very often, not in every show. No, I have maybe use it more, you know, a little bit more than
Yeah.
the rest of people.
Well, you do it beautifully. Every time you do it, I love it. It's always a highlight.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I think you are really known for is, you came to America, you studied with the finest tap dancers, you toured with major companies, and then you made the decision to go back and really help build and create a tap community in Barcelona. And I think anybody who is lucky enough to work in Europe knows that Barcelona really is one of the capitals of tap. I would say not just in Europe, but internationally, Barcelona is known for being one of the places you go to learn, to perform, to get skills, to network with the best. First off, I guess, how did you help build that community in Barcelona? How does one help ensure that an art form can thrive somewhere? Because I guarantee you, there are a lot of people watching this who live in communities that maybe historically don't have a lot of tap dance, and they would like to do whatever they could to try to engender more tap dance and to make it more relevant where they live. What advice would you give to them? How does one help do that?
Okay, so of course there is. I mean, I didn't start from zero because there was people already doing tap, and I mean, it was a small tap community, but there was performers, there was people dancing in some shows. So I would say, for me, what I went to Barcelona. One of the things that, of course, the level was not so high, especially in the students level. It was very hard to find classes. I could see many people that they were then taking classes, but then they stopped because there were not more classes, or they didn't find their own schedule of classes. So I had to start doing different things. One of them was trying to find a little bit, I don't know if you call network, like get in contact with everybody that was interested in tap, and then create a newsletter that didn't exist before, like sending everything that was happening, like all the shows, all the jams, all the all the tap classes in Spain. I searched for all the tap classes in all the schools in Spain, and I sent it to all the people that was interested, like, I don't know, 2,000 people or 3,000 people that was interested in tap, so that everybody could find the way to tap. And maybe if you are in a school but they don't have the right schedule for you, you could find another one, or you could know about the show that you don't know if you don't get the information. Well, that was one part of it, about the community. But then when I came back from New York, and I was starting to teach, and then of course I started to teach some more advanced classes. I brought all the technique that I could learn from the American technique, like was more a little different than what we were used to do in Barcelona. And for me, it was also important to create a way that it was easier to bring tap to the shows, to performing level, not just to take classes. So there was two things that I really tried to create, like a vocabulary of choreography, like standard choreography, which maybe it's very common, but in that time in Barcelona, people didn't know. And so with all these people that they were doing tap, students in that time, or even performers, we all had to learn. I taught all this kind of historical material, or just material that if we were asked to do a show, a convention, we would put it together very easily. So if you had to create a new show, you had to do like 1 hour show. You didn't have to be for 4 months creating the show, all the choreography, because maybe it was not possible, because then it somehow became much easier to perform in different places and in different situations, with more dancers, with less dancers. And the other thing was like the improvisation, like to really we never had tap jams before. So by working with all the students, the improvisation in the regular lessons, I started to have tap jams every week with live musicians. And so the students, they become more natural to improvise. So many tap dancers that nowadays they are performers, that in that time they were my students. And thanks to all these two things, like the improvisation, be able to perform every day, every week with live musicians in the jams, but at the same time creating work and a kind of vocabulary, they could decide to be a tap dancer. If not, you are just a student and you never see the possibility to become a tap dancer. So in that period, Laia Molins, Jeff Melendez, Rusefon, many people that from the Spanish community that they were around, they were students, but then they could become tap dancers just because this changed. So that helped building the community, make it bigger, and with also the mailing lists and all those things, I created the tap association also. So it's a lot of work, and you have to do it because you want to do it. There is not economical compensation for that. It's just because, for me, being in Barcelona, you can dance alone, or if you want to dance with more people, you have to train them somehow. Yeah, I mean, there is other people, but if you want to do a group company with 8 dancers, then you had to train it. You had to do it. Brenda Bufalino did something similar with the American Tap Dance Orchestra. So many dancers that she really trained to really stand together, and be together. So I don't know if that helps as an idea of what
that helps a lot.
And
yeah,
and then
you took it. Go ahead.
No.
So then you took it a step. I love the awkwardness of live video chatting, right? Because of the delay. I'm so sorry. So then you took it a step further by creating an adult professional tap training program. And I have to tell people, there's probably some people out there that have not heard of it yet or don't know about it. But I will tell you what I love about it. There's a few things. One, it's incredibly comprehensive. Students come to Barcelona. I believe it's 9 months long. They learn technique. They learn the canon, right? All the classic choreographies they should know. They learn the history. They learn music theory. They get kind of general stretching and strengthening. They learn composition, they learn improvisation, they learn production, and everything, right? It's this very comprehensive three-dimensional view of the art form. It isn't just technique, technique, choreography, choreography, which I love, love, love. And the other thing that's really cool about it is you're attracting students from all over the world. I've been teaching the formation, I think, every year, and routinely there are students from Russia, Italy, Spain, France, Germany, Scandinavia, North America, Mexico more recently, all over. First off, I just want to say thank you for doing that. I think it's amazing. Getting to teach that international group of people who love tap dance so deeply is amazing. And I want to reassure any English-speaking people watching this, because if you've made it this far, you probably speak English, that all of the classes in the formation are taught in English. English is the common language. Because of people from so many different places, it's kind of the common denominator for everyone there. So I want to encourage people that if you love tap dance and you want to spend 9 months in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, surrounded by people who love tap dance and learning every single day from some of the finest tap dancers in the world, the professional training program you created for me is one of the best opportunities out there. Can you tell people, why did you create this? What made you think, I want to do this and I can do it? And then what are you finding? How is it, one of the things I love is that I'm now seeing people that I taught in years past that are now out there performing professionally. And they're touring with companies and shows. And so I guess, could you just tell everybody out there a little bit about this program?
Okay. Yes. Well, I had, of course, coming from Barcelona, and I had all this idea of building the community. There is a lot of things to build there, and so you have to think what it's needed or what you can help to build it. And when I was a child, I was a teenager, I went to New York, and then I came back. There was no possibilities to learn much tap, like in high-level tap in Barcelona. So I decided to take a jazz dance program, so I could learn also how to move and all those things. So I did myself a program in dance that for 1 year, 9 months. And so you could then learn modern jazz, ballet, a little bit of tap and music, anatomy, And then I was teaching some other school, like musical dance school or acting schools that they had their program. So it's very typical to find this kind of programs in all kind of arts. You go to a musical schools and they have their program 9 months or during 2 or 3 years. And then suddenly they learn acting, they learn singing, they learn dancing. And we didn't have that with tap. We never had that with tap. And I was thinking, why don't we have it with tap? Because that's something that it would help a lot of people, because nowadays you want to be a good tap dancer, and what do you do if you don't have a tap program? Then I went to New York, I took classes, I had to go running from different schools. It was a great experience, and that's for sure, and everybody should do that. But you didn't have an organized program, and a program that sometimes you have to think in what the students need. Like if you go to school, you learn mathematics, and at the same time you learn history. And some students, they don't like it, but it's good for them. They have to learn it. And so in the tap program, you can really think in what is good for a tap dancer. They have to learn music. And maybe they would have never taken music classes if they were just doing random classes, tap classes, or dancing, or tap history, or anatomy, good for the injuries, all these things that a program can give you, that it's good. And of course, because you are dancing every day, many hours during 9 months, of course, we have different levels. Some people stay for 3 years, some people for 9 months. Of course, 9 months, you learn a lot, but it's so much more to learn, And so for me, I always had this idea of, I would like to create a tap program, the same idea that it's created with other kind of dance. Nothing new, just something that we could have for tap dancers. And of course, you have to, every person would do it different, you know, like every tap dancer would create their own program in a different way. Some people could put more dance, some people more music, and some people more technique, some people more, of course, 9 months is not a lot. If you would do it for many years with the same people, then you could create like pedagogy, and you could create more like creation of choreography. You know, there is so much more that is possible to do. But mainly that was the idea. That was the idea of having this program, and it's true that we have people from all around the world, and that's why we can do it, because only with people from Barcelona or Spain, we wouldn't have enough students. And we have been doing it now for eight years, I think. So next year is going to be the 8th season.
Amazing. I love it. So I tell you what, we are going to check out really quick, and then we're going to come back in 15 seconds. So I'm going to end this. Please find us. We'll be right back. When we come back, we're going to do everybody's 2 favorite things. We have the 2-minute tap class where we will give Guillem 2 minutes to teach any step, concept, or idea, and we will be timing you. We will not be timing you. If you go over, it's fine. After the 2-minute tap lesson, we will have rapid riffs. We'll be asking 10 questions quickly. I know that those are most people's favorite parts. So we have to end because Instagram has an hour-long limit on the live calls, and I never want to be cut off in the middle of a great idea that you have or something interesting we're talking about. So we're going to say goodbye. Please find us. We'll be back literally in about 15 seconds. Thank you so much, everybody. See you in a hot second. All right. Hi, everyone. Mark Yonley, founder and artistic director of Chicago Tap Theater. Mark Yonley here. We are back for the second and final part of the Tea on Tap, this week featuring the remarkable Guillem Alonso. We're just going to wait for everyone to pop back in. I want to thank you all for joining us again. Like I say, I would always rather pause on our own time than have to be cut off. And I see Guillem is here. He'll be on here in a hot minute. Hey, Stephanie, what a pleasure to see you. I saw Emily was here. I see my mom is here. I see Cookie. Hey, how are you, Guillem? We're back.
Yes.
So, 2-minute tap lesson. You have 2 minutes to teach any step, idea, or concept. Go.
Okay. Well, I was thinking first to do some more musical idea, but since I'm in the school, and I mean, I don't have tap shoes, but I can tap a little bit. So my idea is to teach, instead of a technique exercise, more a musical exercise, even though we are going to do it with the feet. The typical flamenco basic step that it's to keep timing, marcaje, it's called. It's not my step, but it's something I learned from Juan de Juan, a flamenco dancer. But it's cool because you can count in a different way, think musically in a different way, and it plays with off beats, off beats. So it's fun. So okay, let me put this here. And a second. Okay, I don't know if you can see me well. I think so, kind of. Good. So the step we are going to start thinking is very simple. We have the keys, you know, like right, left, right, left, right, left. And then we have the stamps. And we're going to play, you know, like the 3 sound step that we do: stamp, heel, heel, stamp, heel, heel, stamp, heel, heel, stamp, heel. Okay, instead of 1 stamp, we are going to play with 2 stamps. Stamp, stamp, heel, heel, stamp, stamp. So we have 4 sounds, 2 stamps, or stomp, stamp, heel, heel. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So now, the idea here is to the flamenco rhythm, that is the basic bulería, okay? That it's counting 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Which is the same that say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So we have 6 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I want to be in America. ta 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 tan tan tan. Okay, so marcaje in flamenco, it's a step that brings us into this clave that they use in flamenco. Ta 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 ta. So we have this step that I just told you that we have stamp stamp. Yeah, we start with one stamp. 1, 2, 3, 1. Sorry, 1 and 1 and 1. That's a 2-beat sound. We can do it in a 3-beat sound and in 2 extra hills. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so instead of 2 hills, we have 4 hills. So then we are going to follow with these accents. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we have the flamenco clave. 2 times 3, 3 times 2. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and to the left on the other side. In flamenco, they would count it this way. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, which you can count in 3s or in 6, yeah? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, and then you would go back into the 1. Okay, now, this is a nice exercise because you have the continuation in one side with the heels all the time. Now, this is the basic beat. We can play with the off beats, which is also very cool. So after doing the stamps, instead of going back into the heel, you just stomp with the other foot, which it keeps the same step. Instead of doing heel, heel, you do stomp, heel. So it doesn't really change the shape of the order of the steps, but you can play with the accent, which is very cool because then you get used to having a beat, but at the same time hearing all these off rhythms, which is very, very nice and very good training at the same time. So that would sound like this: 4, 5, 6, 1. Sorry, the offbeat. 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I'm mixing the English and the Spanish. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so well, I'm not used to counting this way, but yeah, I'm gonna do it without counting, which I think then you can hear the rhythms better. Okay, so it's just a step that at the same time we can work the technique, but mainly also for the musicality of the, in flamenco they count in 12s. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, which is 11, 12, Then again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So that would be the step that I was thinking to bring something different, something also from Spain.
I love it. Oh my gosh, thank you for sharing that. That is awesome. And that's definitely, I like that that's chewy, right? Meaning it gives people something to work on and something to chew on a little bit. Thank you for sharing that. That was absolutely awesome. All right. I hope everybody is ready. It is time for rapid riffs. All right, Guillem, 10 questions. Generally speaking, these have very short answers. Okay? Are you ready?
Yes.
What tap shoes do you like to wear?
Menkes. This is
taps.
French. Sorry.
Yes, Menkes. Quite well known over there, yes. Taps, tight or just a little loose?
Tight.
Favorite song to tap dance to?
I would say a song that I would always ask in a tap jam that I would feel comfortable, Well You Need Them.
Love it. Favorite composer?
I'm going to say Thelonious Monk, since Well You Need Them, like the songs I feel more comfortable to dance are Monk's songs like Bench the Swing or Well You Need Them, so Monk.
Yes. So perfect for tap dancers. You are in 4/4 time. Do you count in 4s or 8s?
I count in 4s, especially when I dance with any kind of music. But I have no problem in if I have 8 shuffles on the right, 8 shuffles on the left, I would say 8 and 8. But when I have to talk about normal choreography, combination of steps or musically, force.
Favorite tap dancer to watch who is no longer with us?
Famous tap dancer?
Yes, who's no longer alive.
Okay, has to be famous one. I mean, many tap dancers.
Well, it doesn't have to be famous. No, just your favorite. Favorite tap
favorite.
dancer to watch who is dead.
Well, I'm gonna say, I mean, I've seen some videos of people in the old time that are really special that we don't really see people, and it's not so common, like Little Back, you know, and all those tap dancers that you see, like the Harlem tap dancers, or you see all those clips from old times, and they were improvising or dancing so cool and doing some fantastic things that we talk about technique, and that time they were doing so. And people like that, I would love to see.
Yes. So, but your final answer, you get one name. It is?
Little Back.
Perfect. Favorite living tap dancer to watch?
Wow, here there is a lot. Okay. I mean, I'm always amazed of the possibilities that he can do, not only with the feet, like also the body, the rhythm, the singing. So Max Pollack, I think, would be one of the person that I would say so complete in so many ways. So yes. I mean, there are so many other names I could say, but
I love it. That's a great choice, and he will be an upcoming guest on the Tea on Tap. Favorite choreographed tap piece you've seen or done?
Okay, so I would say done. I think, of course, Brenda Bufalino choreographies are very complete and the concept and the rhythms. So if I would have to choose one, I mean, there are so many. The ones that I've done and I enjoy to do, like All Blue Stasi. It could be another one, but all those choreographies from Brenda, they're playing with the polyrhythms, and it's great.
Yes. What single tap performance that you've seen do you remember the most vividly?
Single tap performance I've seen live.
Yes.
Live.
That you remember the most, that really like hit you or touched you or pushed you.
Okay, live. I mean, sorry, because this answer I don't really have it so clear. So I've seen so many things. Of course, there are some tap jams with Jimmy Slide that I saw in La Cave. I would say that was something very special, like let's say Jimmy Slide in La Cave.
That's a great answer.
I mean, any other place, but yeah, that would be something special.
You have a time machine. You can go back in time and see any one tap performer or tap performance. What do you see?
So many. Of course, before I talk about Little Back, people like that I would love to see. Of course, like a show, and it was not so back in time, but I never saw Black and Blue live, and that would have been a great show to see live with so many great, nice tap dancers. That's a show I would have liked a lot to see. Of course, if we go back like Bill Robinson or John Babel, you know, all these people would have been great to see them live, of course.
Yeah.
Let's say Black and Blue, just to put a show.
Love it. Best venue you've ever played?
Okay. I mean, Teatro Goya, I thought about that before. It's in Barcelona. I mean, the concept of theater I really like is that it's not too big, but not too small, and you have the audience very close to you. I like, because I was dancing in the streets before, and I like to see people. I like to be in contact with the audience. And so a theater that is about maybe 400 seats is perfect. Like 200 to 500 would be kind of the perfect. I mean, more than it becomes a little bit too big. It's more far away. People you don't see, you don't feel it so much. And at the same time, I don't like the orchestra pit, like you have the fifth row very far away. So theaters like that is what I like. And this Goya theater that we have performed sometime has this feel as other theaters.
Finally, second step of the Shim Sham. What count do you begin the second step on? 4 or 1? Thank you. Of course. All right.
I teach it since I've seen it so many times done in one, especially for with the Lindy Hop dancers. Every time I teach the Shimsham, now I say, you have to know that sometimes you will find people doing it on one, and you have to be ready if everybody does on one, so change it, do it on one, and that's it, and just become part of the show, but I teach it on four.
Yes. So before I let you go, I have to do a few things. First off, you do know, I hope, and I hope our audience knows, that right now Black and Blue, the original Broadway production, is on YouTube. So you can watch it in its entirety from beginning to end. It was filmed and shot by the great American director Robert Altman. If you've never seen it, boy, take the time to watch it. Yeah, the sound and video quality aren't great because it's probably a bootleg that was put up, but I want to recommend it. And I saw also that the production of Yubi, starring Gregory and Maurice Hines, is also on YouTube. So for you TAP fans out there, there's a lot of amazing footage out right now, so take advantage of it. So real quick, I want to thank Leah Koch, our marketing director and tech guru. I want to thank the entire staff of Chicago Tap Theater, Molly, Allie, Sarah, our amazing interns, Allie and Emily. I want to thank all the dancers of Chicago Tap Theater. You are the reason that we are continuing to do all this. Until we get to perform again, at least we get to talk tap. I want to thank my set dresser, producer, and business manager, Jennifer Yonley. I want to announce our next guest. Next Sunday, we will have the Heather Cornell. And I have to tell you that Heather is actually joining Chicago Tap Theater a little bit. We're working together to create an amazing Sunday of tap dance for you. She's going to be hosting, I believe, a discussion an hour before this. And then she'll toss it over to our episode. And then afterwards, she's going to be sharing footage of Manhattan Tap. She's going to be sharing footage of a lot of the greats that she studied with and mentors of hers. So you're going to want to check that out. There'll be more information coming out very soon about that. But check it out, because Heather Cornell is a formidable presence in the tap community. Quick reminders, please. Wednesday, come take class. Chicago Tap Theater, we have company class at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Central Time in America, so that would be very late for you Europeans out there. Sorry about that. We are talking about doing an early class one day, specifically for European dancers. And then next Thursday, there'll be another episode of Tea on Tap. And then Friday will be the next episode of Book Club. We're Reaching the Soles of Your Feet by Acia Gray. And it will be our last week on this book. We'll be announcing our next book that night. And as always, the author of the book will be a part of that Zoom. So Acia Gray will be there Friday to talk about her book with you. So, final shuffle, Guillem Alonso. When you shuffle off this mortal coil, how do you most want to be remembered as a tap artist?
Okay, well, last question. Then, well, of course, I just want to be remembered as being have done my part of the path in tap. I don't know, tap history in Barcelona, at least in Europe or somehow. Like I told you before in the interview, you know, like the tap community, some people they work on that, and then you have to take part of this, and then some other people will take. So I want to be remembered as all the things I've done that has helped the others to keep going, has helped the tap community or the people to remember tap, has built an audience for tap, you know, and also have, I mean, all the students, all the people that I've taught, and someone that has helped, you know, into the tap scene, and of course from the show, yeah. But I guess just remember as done my help, or you know, like we say here, granito de arena, like part of the building things, so I did my thing.
Guillem, I think you definitely have. You're an important link in the chain of tap dance. I want to thank you not only for being an amazing guest today, I want to thank you for being such a dear friend. I really do love you. Thank you so much, and I will look forward next time I see you. Hopefully it will be in person. Yes. And we will be tap dancing together. I want to thank everybody out there for joining us. I want to thank you, Guillem, for being our lovely guest. Take care. Such a pleasure. I'll see everybody for the next episode of the Tea on Tap.